Yo, what's up guys, Lordsano here, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about what I think is the best weapon in the game. This weapon is incredibly strong and I'd say even overpowered for a multitude of reasons, and I'm going to be covering them in this video. Before we get into that though, I'm going to be giving away 1,000 Robux to a random person in the comments, so make sure that you're subscribed and you say something nice in the comments, and if you win I'll personally respond to you and tell you how to claim your prize. Alright, so when you think of busted weapons, you may immediately think of like an enchanted endgame weapon like an enchanted shattered katana, or an enchanted rifle spear, or an enchanted Cerulean knife. But what if I told you that there was a weapon that was stronger than all of those in its base form? A weapon that's so incredibly powerful that people are making entire builds around it, and it has the highest trade value of any weapon in the game. If you haven't picked up on it already, I'm talking about the Crip blade. The Crip blade is a legendary weapon for the Shadow attunement, just like the Curved Blade of Winds is the legendary weapon for the Gale Breath attunement. The Crip blade scales of both Shadow and Heavy, so it requires a pretty specific build if you want to use it. One fun fact is that this weapon was actually unobtainable just a few weeks ago before the big update. That is when they re-added it back to the loot pools, and you can get it from depths chests, and chests from bosses such as Duke and Primadon. The Crip blade should be incredibly rare, but the amount of people that I've seen with it leads me to believe that they're being passed around more than those e-girls who do services for notes. Legendary weapons are not soulbound, so if you do die, then you can actually just lost wind yourself and then pass it to another account. This basically means that if you have Robux, then your Crip blade is unwipeable, and you'll be able to keep it forever. Combine this with the amount of people who get their 10 Crip blades from God knows where, and you get a situation where loads of people are running around with this legendary weapon. So now we've determined why you're probably seeing a lot of Crip blades right now. Let's determine what makes this weapon so damn good. Like I mentioned before, Crip blade is a Shadow and Heavy weapon. It scales with both of those stats, and you may be wondering, how is a heavy weapon the best weapon in the game? I thought you said heavy weapons were bad. And in most scenarios I would be right, but Crip blade is a heavy weapon in name only. Crip blade calls itself a heavy weapon, it has all the damage of one. Crip blade has a base damage of 26, and 15 total scaling. Using the damage scaling formula, we can see that Crip blade has a total of 65 damage when maxed out. It also has 9 range, which is the longest of any weapon in the game. The Crip blade also applies shadow talents on M1, such as freezing your opponent in place and stealing their ether. So the Crip blade has the highest damage in the game, the Crip blade also has the highest range in the game, and the Crip blade applies the best talents on M1 in the game. So the only stat left is its attack speed. You must think, because it's a heavy weapon and it has OP other stats, it must compensate by having really slow speed, right? You would expect the attack speed to be somewhere around the Enforcer's Axe level, which is around 0.55, but instead, it has a whopping 0.7 attack speed. To understand how ridiculous this is, let's talk about another weapon which has 0.7 attack speed, and that is the Razor Cutlass. The Razor Cutlass is a late game medium weapon with I think a 65 requirement for its medium stats. The Razor Cutlass has half the damage, less range, and it has the same attack speed as the Crip blade. It's a sword. The Crip blade is a giant ass greatsword. It shouldn't be swinging this fast. It doesn't make sense from a balance perspective, like I just mentioned, because there are weapons that have the same swing speed and deal way less damage and have way less range and don't apply status effects on M1s. And it doesn't make sense from a game design perspective either, because how can a person with a massive greatsword be swinging at the same speed that someone with a small Razor Cutlass is swinging? If this is to make any sense, then they need to give Crip blade a big strength requirement, not only to balance it, but also to make it feel more realistic, because the animations and it being a massive greatsword just does not line up with the really fast sword speed swing. So we've identified that the Crip blade is the best weapon in the game, and the next argument that someone may make is, well, the Crip blade on its own is really good, but what do you say about the fact that you can't enchant a Crip blade? And to that I'd say you don't need to. A Crip blade is just as good as an enchanted Shadow Katana, or in my opinion is even better. What effect would you rather have on your weapon? Would you rather steal someone's first on M1, or would you rather do 2 times damage? Would you rather do 25% more damage at 40% HP, or would you rather do 2 times damage? Would you rather have more armor penetration on your M1s, or would you rather do 2 times damage? The answer is always 2 times damage, and those are the options that you're getting between choosing an enchanted Shadow Katana and a Crip blade. Not only that, your enchanted Shadow Katana isn't stealing ether, and it's not applying shadow talents, such as the ability to freeze people in place on M1. The crazy part about the Crip blade is I haven't even started talking about the thing that makes it OP. You see, all of the things that I mentioned before are just parts of the problem, The thing that I'm about to mention now is the real reason why this weapon gets pushed over the edge and is blatantly overpowered. You see, despite having sword swing speed, Crip Blade is actually classified as a Greatsword. This means that it has access to Greatsword talents, and Greatsword talents are some of the best weapon talents in the game. What this means is that an S tier weapon like the Crip Blade gets pushed up to SS tier if you have these Greatsword talents. Part of the reason why these Greatsword talents aren't so obnoxious on a normal weapon such as the Darksteel Greatsword is because of the fact that the Darksteel Greatsword swings much slower than a Crip Blade. This means that the Crip Blade has a much higher chance to proc these talents. Let's talk about these two talents and why they're so good. The first one is Heavy Hitter, and it makes it so that whenever you hit someone's block with a Greatsword, the posture damage that you deal is doubled. This means that if you try to block a Crip Blade to relieve some pressure with its sword swing speed, it will guard break you instantly. With maxed Ardor Murmur, this basically becomes a huge problem because you have to parry every single hit or dodge every single hit because blocking is not an option. A good Crip Blade player will pressure you knowing this fact that you cannot block because you'll basically get hit for free if you try to do it. On normal Greatswords, Heavy Hitter is not so much of a problem because each swing is so easy to react to because it's so slow. You can pretty easily parry or dodge every single M1 from a Darksteel Greatsword, but on the Crip Blade it's a different story as the weapon is incredibly fast, so dodging and parrying every single M1 becomes a harder ordeal. Now the other talent that Greatswords have is a rare talent called Destructive Recovery, and I actually think it's one of the best rare talents in the game. This should either be a legendary or just removed entirely, because it's really OP for what it does. It's sort of like Mirage Clones or Dazing Finisher, in the sense that it's a game-changing mechanic. Basically what Destructive Recovery does is it makes it so that whenever you parry your opponent, if the parry brings them to max posture, then you'll actually guard break them. No other weapon can guard break on parries except for Greatswords if you have Destructive Recovery. This means that if you're high on posture because your opponent's been parrying your attacks, and you actually try to hit them again, they can guard break you, and essentially with the 0.7 swing speed, they can hit you in the time that you're guard broken and you cannot react to it. Therefore, if you're high on posture, you have to play incredibly defensive, and you cannot attack your enemy or apply pressure on them because they're gonna guard break you and then hit you for free for 60 damage. Combine this with the fact that you cannot block a Crip Blade, and you get a scenario in which you're forced to play defensive, and you cannot play defensive because you can't block. So you have to parry and dodge every single hit, all while managing to dodge Shadow Guns and Shadow Eruptions. And when you do eventually get hit by one cheeky attack, you're gonna lose 70 HP. People have been telling me to make videos for the longest time explaining why Shadow is weak, and I cannot make a video titled Shadow is weak because if it does get buffs, then Crip Blade is gonna be even more obnoxious. It's already the meta build in this game. I don't think there's anything better than Crip Blade Heavy Shadow right now. And until Crip Blade or the Greatsword talents get some changes, then I don't think Shadow can even receive buffs because this build is already SS tier and it's on top of the game. That's gonna be all for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.